then I'll commence immediately.
1 minute, sir. Just.
Yeah.
I'll start recording, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start on the count of 10. Meanwhile, you can initiate the recording.
Start. Sure.
A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to one and all present here. I am Vishwas Bopana, the chairman of the Bangalore chapter, your host for the afternoon. I firstly appreciate one and all in coming together and help us celebrate the Foundation Day of CSI. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Shri Lalit Sahni, past President, Computer Society of India, 2005 to 2007, Vice President, International Federation for Information Processing, 2009 to 2012, worked 20 years in Hindustan Lever, 8 years with ICI, and 5 years with Reliance Communications. Sir, welcome you to share the welcome address.
Thank you, Vishwas. We are very happy to meet on the CSI Foundation Day to discuss an extremely important subject, the artificial intelligence opportunity. AI gives rise to fears of mass job displacement, but moves on to the potential for creating 100 billion high-value jobs in the next decade. And we need to ensure that this growth is all-inclusive, reaching all strata of society, from urban centers to rural centers, from IT services, education to new areas like healthcare. For this, we need to start building India's IT infrastructure. We wish today's session will give us a start to developing this blueprint. And we hope that some of us will start working together to build on this AI opportunity. So I now request Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan to join us. And
So
start
before
with-
I like to read
Yeah,
out
thank you.
this small introduction of Professor Ganesh. Just a moment, sir. Friends, it is my great privilege to introduce one of our top 30 AI minds in India, Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan, Bank of Baroda's Chair Professor in Digital Entrepreneurship at Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, IIT Bombay. Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan is a rare scholar who excels both in high-tech as well as by remaining deeply rooted in the high Indian culture. As the founding head of the Koita Center for Digital Health, that is called KCD, in IIT Bombay, he played a key role in establishing one of India's first academic center dedicated to digital health, research and innovation. Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan is one of the leading minds shaping India's AI landscape and is the driving force behind BharatGen, India's first large-scale multilingual large language model initiative launched under the India's AI mission and inaugurated by our Honorary Prime Minister Shri Narain Modi at the AI Impact Summit. Under his leadership, the BharatGen initiative has emerged as India's sovereign generative AI program, developing foundational AI models designed especially for India's linguistics diversity, culture context, and governance needs. Supporting more than 22 Indian languages, BharatGen aims to build an indigenous AI ecosystem that reduces dependence on foreign models and enables transformative application across sectors such as governance, agriculture, healthcare, and financial services. Beyond cutting-edge technology, Professor Ramakrishnan also brings a unique perspective rooted in Indian intellectual heritage through initiatives such as Dharam Wiki. I will invite you to, after this, you can also log into dharamwiki.com. Dharamwiki, he passionately worked to connect modern AI research with India's timeless knowledge tradition. As we say in Hindi, जहाँ ज्ञान है वहाँ कर्म और कर्म का संगम होता है, वहीं से नई दिशा निकलती है. Professor Ramakrishnan truly embodies the confluence of knowledge, innovation, and national purpose. let us invite and let us join hand welcoming Professor Ramakrishnan. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Shri Agarwal ji. Thank you all the dignitaries here. It's very humbling to be showered with such generous words in front of such an elite audience with so many awardees. Nevertheless, I think I'm very fortunate that I have been blessed with this opportunity of making this contribution of leading BharatGen. It began with a consortium of 7 academic institutions maybe 2 years back. We are very grateful to the Ministry of Education for letting us explore. But back then we were doing that only with our researchers. We realized over a course of time that we need engineers, and therefore we approached the Department of Science and Technology. India in AI mission wasn't formed then. And thanks to the trust of Professor Karandikar, who could foresee the need for such a consortium, frugally built model, which is sovereign by participation. The Department of Science and Technology funded us 235 crores, and that's how we got started. And then the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MIT, through the India AI mission, they saw that we had built, with the help of DST models, up to 10 billion parameters, the small models, and they saw the potential. And against an RFP, we were able to build large models, and that's the journey so far. And what you just now heard about the Honorable PM launching models was our first suite of slightly larger models. So I hope you can see this video. And this is at the India AI Impact Expo in 2020, 2 weeks back, in February 2026. Yeah. Then you can empower vendors. We did that. For speech data collection for 13,000 hours of data, we upskilled vendors to be able to do or think agentic in terms of data curation quality and bring provenance, which means observability through the data stack. That second thing is foundational models, recipes and benchmarks. We need to start viewing foundational models, large language models, as glass boxes and not black boxes, because that's when we can repurpose them as required suitably. But then there's a third component, which is research. As you all saw, the DeepSeek moment did revolutionize a lot of what was happening with large language models. However, DeepSeek, its journey began at least half a decade, if not a decade back, right? And finally, this research, when it goes together with the foundational models and startups and partnerships and deployment, that's when the adoption of these models can be also for real. So there's a QR code. Feel free to scan this and register your interest in BharatGen. This is a short video just to tell you the story of
BharatGen, India's sovereign AI ecosystem, rooted in our languages, our data.
So there's a little bit of buffering problem.
Our knowledge systems and our ethos. Early BharatGen releases showed the potential of sovereign AI. Powering this AI ecosystem is Bharat Data Sagar, a vast initiative
I think there's a little bit of buffering problem on the video.
India's data and knowledge from public and private sources.
So in the interest of time, what I'll do is I'll talk about these models as we go ahead. The launch video is also there on YouTube. Now, we did a lot of partnership on the data front to be able to ensure that people with whom we work on the data, there's a consortium, as I said, of several academic institutions. So I am Indore, for example, has been going to sources of data in second-tier cities and educating them about the potential uses of the data, because we sovereignty is also empowering, right? And scaling out rather than just scaling up, right? Any kind of monopoly isn't good for civilization. So that's where empowering even the data sources and ensuring that they get back what they have sown is very critical. And this, as I said, with several partners mentioned here, I won't go into the details, has resulted in us being able to build our foundational 17 billion parameter mixture of expert model called Param 2. Now this covers all 22 Indian languages. And just to give you an idea, right, of the amount of due diligence that has gone into building these models from pre-training stage 1 to stage 2, for example, ensuring that data mixture across languages is representative of their distribution, while ensuring that the model also learns to reason, right, through code, through math. I think this has been a lot of research. So we are very happy to share that all this due diligence resulted in models, some false starts, and finally models that are now very effective. So Param is a series of models. Param 2 is what we released recently, but also domain-specific models, for example, in legal, finance, and so on. Suktam is our suite of text-to-speech models. Shrutam is a suite of speech-to-text models, and Patram is our document vision model. So these models, as an example, Param, highly efficient multilingual powerhouse for 22 Indian languages. The architecture design was done in such a way that while the mixture of experts, we had 64 experts, but of which there were 2 shared experts. And why 2 shared experts? Because one shared expert was taking care of all the math and all the reasoning and also the domain. And the other shared expert was also taking care of the code mixing, right? Because we have mixing of languages. So the other important part is and you can see a small illustration of how this behaves. For example, right? Here's a question about C++ in Marathi, and is able to generate good code. You can also do all kinds of annotations here, like comments, etc. can be left here. Here's an example in mathematics in Tamil. And here's an example in Gujarati of reasoning. So I think all of these are examples of how we've been able to put together in a small model, relatively small model, 17 billion parameter mixture of expert, the capability of both doing math, code, reasoning, and multilinguality. Of course, a lot more is going to be coming out from our team, because our North Star is 1 trillion parameter models, right? But I think this is a very, very reassuring start we had, thanks, of course, to the DST and the India AI mission. And for some reason, this is there's some buffering problem. But yes, this you can now see the fact that the model was also designed in such a way that the number of active parameters is 2.4 billion, which means we should be able to inference with these models even in resource constrained settings, right? The shared experts, routed experts, and dense pre-processing, all of this was keeping in mind the Indian context. We have to innovate for ourselves. And I'll tell you, every new model that you build is a unique story, right? It's not that just because people have been building these models elsewhere and because we are late starters, we shouldn't be doing it. No, I mean, look at it. In terms of benchmarks, we are able to do relatively well on English benchmarks. Indian benchmarks certainly the best in the same league of model sizes. So therefore, there's a lot that needs to be still done is a message I wanted to leave through this short presentation. Now, there's a lot more that needs to be done. Here's an example of how study through our research consortium, a book called Samanvay reflects the study, which we gifted to the Honorable PM. This similarity across Indian languages. This is a sentence, Kolkata sthit Kali Maa ka Prasiddha Mandir bahut hi bhavya hai. The same sentence is rendered in Hindi, Bengali, and Tamil. When you use the right units of or word groups, like inspired by Panini, which is Tinganta, Subanta, and Kridanta, we find that there is actually a lot of coherence across these languages. Right? So you can see that 3 graphs look so similar. Not only that, phonetic and linguistic similarity in Indian languages is another very important thing we leverage. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're
sir.
audible.
Yeah, very
Yes,
much.
you're audible.
Very much.
Yes,
Yes,
you're
All
audible.
right.
So you can see that there's a lot of phonetic similarity as well across Indian languages. And I'm going to give you a small demonstration of how we leverage this phonetic similarity. So let me show how this research, this fundamental ontological understanding of languages results in better models, right? Then not just language-based phenomena. There are so many research problems. There's a menu card of research problems, right? How do you look at the acquisition of skills of these models as you go from small to large models, right? When does the emergence of skills take place for Indian languages and Indian context data? When can you actually also bring in personalization based again on persona which are determined by paradigms that are very uniquely Indian, right? So I think all the way knowledge can actually become the DNA of algorithms is again a big opportunity for us. And as I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot that needs to happen. As an example, right? We train these models using so much of data. Now imagine that these data points have to be selected from a large pool so that you are able to cover, for example, all languages. That's a coverage-based function. You can have a coverage-based function to select subset of data. You want to make sure that just because Manipuri, right, and Assamese have some overlap doesn't mean that you pick Assamese only and not Manipuri, right? On the other hand, diversity will also ensure that languages which don't even have overlap with the other languages are also selected, right? Or have minimal overlap with other languages get selected. Or you may want information-based data selection. For example, if I have a target task and I want to select a subset of the data that caters to that task, or representation function. Representation and coverage are very similar. Coverage looks at the point space, representation looks at the feature space. So, this is example of one research problem. In fact, we brought out an open source platform called Decile. Decile stands for Data Efficient Learning, right? You can go and check decile.org, but it also stands for Compute Efficient Learning. And publications have reflected the work along with the open source code and there are efficient libraries that we have actually put out for people to look at. As an example, right? When you're training a large language model, do you always need diversity? So when this is an example paper from NeurIPS 2025, and we had some follow-up in 2026. Right? So if I am looking at multiple stages of training a model, maybe just like a child, like example of a child when it's growing up, like a model growing up, initially might be it's better to expose the child to some redundancy, right? But as the child grows, you want more diversity to set in, right? Similarly, can we learn when a child has grown? Similarly, can we learn when a model has actually grown? What is the inflection point, right? So can we have a bandit which figures out when to switch from representation to diversity and so on, right? You can do that when a model is giving a feedback to itself. There could be algorithmic innovations on self-distillation. I think this is so much to explore in this space, right? Data efficiency and compute efficiency are very critical for India, especially as these models, as you want mass adaptation. Here's an example of how we leverage the speech models. Okay, this is Gujarati. You can see the text-to-speech model. Just a small prompt, and it's generating voice.
भारतीय भाषाओं विना साची डिजिटल समानता शक्य નથી.
Now, this model doesn't have to be trained on any particular voice. You can just do speaker conditioning. And the interesting thing is, this has been trained across 12 Indian languages by looking at the phonetic similarity, right? The phonemes that are similar. As you see in the next slide, we look at the entire common label set, right? The labels that are actually common across these Indian languages. You can see Hindi, Marathi have a lot of commonality. And for example, in Bengali, might not be there in Hindi and Marathi, but in the northeastern languages, they do have that. So there's this commonality got leveraged, and while we also innovated on the model architecture to ensure that this commonality can be leveraged effectively, what is very interesting is that we have one model catering to these 12 Indian languages, a condition, speaker condition, text to speech, and can switch across these languages. I would say state-of-the-art model, which is available again on Hugging Face and AI Coach. All our models are made available on Hugging Face and AI Coach. AI Coach is India's own data and model hosting platform. I mean, there are many more examples I can provide in Bengali. Is same kind of feature in Bengali. But you can please go and try out these models yourselves. These videos are also made available. This is a text-to-speech model suite across these 12 languages. And we are expanding. Now, what is also interesting is what about speech-to-text? Right? Can there be similar patterns of language similarity in speech-to-text? Can we bring a large language model, an LLM, to improve our speech-to-text? So Shrutam is our speech-to-text model suite. And here's an example from Tamil. And you can see there's a lot of background.
விண்வெளி அனுபவம் பெறுவதற்காக இந்திய விண்வெளி வீரர் சுபான்ஷு சுக்லா சர்வதேச விண்வெளி நிலையத்திற்கு அனுப்பி வைக்கப்பட்டார். கடந்த மாதம் 25ஆம் தேதி.
So it's about Shubhanshu Shukla ji, and it is generated. Now, not only do you want the noise robustness, but you also want to get the keywords like Shubhanshu Shukla associated with space and so on. So that's where our Shrutam model, speech-to-text model suite, which we released, is bringing in our LLM capability, the large language model capability, so that you can constrain the output based on an LLM. Right? And this is our unique architecture, which is also published at ICASS 2026. So what we do is take the speech, project it through a mixture of experts, a router which picks one of these experts, and these are projected into our text LLM. Okay, a very interesting architecture. Thanks to our research pool, we have 60 engineers, but our engineers work closely with researchers across the 9 academic consortium members we have, right? So what was observation? I mean, instead of getting into the technical details here, I'm going to leave you with a very interesting impression. The experts in this mixture of experts learn something very interesting. So you see these 4 matrices. The matrix on the top left is for Hindi. The matrix on the top right is for Marathi. And you find that for each language, expert 1, expert 2, expert 3, expert 4, the 4 experts are columns, and the rows are different tasks. Okay, lighter the shade of the color, the more is that expert's contribution to that task for that language. Now, if you look at just the color pattern of Hindi and Marathi, you'll find they look exactly the same. All right, very similar. This is again the language similarity. I'm telling you, is underestimated. There's a lot of similarity in syntactic, lexical, and also, as I said, right, syntactic similarity is basically saying Ram eats mangoes. In English, you use subject, verb, object, but Indian languages have Ram aam khata hai, right? It's subject, object, verb. That's true with all Indian languages. That's the graph I showed earlier, but there's a similarity. Ram aam khato, Ram aam khate hain, right? No, lot of kha is just khata, right? It's similar. On the other hand, you find a language like Telugu on the bottom right corner is leveraging combinations of Hindi and Tamil. Some vocabulary from Tamil does overlap, but Hindi a lot of overlap lexically, right? So I think there is so much to contribute. And as I said, many of these models we have released. Research papers are also there. We also have Patram, India's first document vision language model. In the interest of time, I'll let you go through our talk, where we ran through all of these applications on 17th of February during the India Impact Summit. Patram vision language model, and doc both as a suite for Indian document intelligence. We're also working extensively with several partners. So basically, hospitals, hospital chains, ministries, right? I mean, and we also were very honored to be with the Honorable PM and with many other top AI leaders in the world. So this was also during the Impact Summit. Now, I'm going to leave you with this important, I think that unless you do the adoption of these models, unless you work with startups, partnerships, deployments, we work with 2 state governments, the feedback loop is what is going to make these large models more effective, right? If you go to the 17th of February presentation, we talk about a lot of partnerships and the kind of models that we have developed. I think for today, this much might be sufficient for hopefully to whet your appetite. But I hope all of you see there's so much potential. If you want AI to help and positively impact every Indian citizen on terms that are also very intrinsically Bharatiya, right? Without disturbing them, but bringing it complementary, there's so much to be done. And sovereignty is very keen here. Sovereign means participation. We have a consortium of, as you can see, a consortium of 9 academic institutions. IIT Madras, Professor Kamakoti has been our pillar. We have IIT Hyderabad, IIIT Hyderabad, IIT Mandi, IIT Kanpur, IIT Kharagpur, IIM Indore, which I mentioned earlier, while IIT Bombay takes the lead. IIIT Delhi and IIT Kharagpur have also joined forces. But we also have a strong, full-time engineers. Our CEO, Mr. Rishi Bal, has spent 25 years in the US with Google Research and Microsoft, moved back from Seattle. Our Vice President, Dr. Manish Singh, was at UIUC after his BTech at IIT Delhi, 25 years in Princeton, came back. Our Chief Product Officer, Kaustubh, Dr. Kaustubh, he was a faculty at Virginia Tech, right? And with Arista Networks has come back. I think there's an opportunity to also bring back good talent with leadership roles. We are desperately looking to fill up a very important strata in our organization. We are 60, but we need mid-tier leadership that works with the team and who are very, and we do pay reasonably well because we are a Section 8 company, which is completely based out of IIT Bombay. Our director, IIT Bombay, is a chairperson. So that way, we also have representation from the India AI Mission, IT. So I hope you can see that if you think differently, there's so much support available here. It might be challenging at times, but we need to be perseverant. And this is an opportunity for India to bring back the rich tradition of languages, to bring back impact, to bring back, as our Honorable Prime Minister often says, Virasat bhi or Vikas bhi, right? Thank you very much. Honored that I got to present to all of you.
Thank you, Professor Ganesh, Ramakrishnan, such an exciting talk and summarizing such a sea of knowledge in this last 15 minutes. Sir, we'll have a time for 2-3 questions.
Sure.
Okay. Vishwas, you can read out the questions.
Right. So the first question is from Shri Shashi Kumar ji. Are we training from raw data or relying on any underlying framework or LLM? Which is our architecture in BharatGen?
So we train everything from raw data. And that's why the third slide I showed you was the data distribution across different phases, right? All the data is homegrown. All the data is license checked. All the data has provenance and attribution to the source. We build these models from the first byte.
Right. So we have another question from Shri Sunil Kumar Poparaju. There is a strong superannuated AI community in India. How can we leverage their knowledge?
So, sir, thank you for this wonderful question. What we need, I mean, we do have lots of advisors. We need people who can help execute advice, distill out the advice. So if there's a superannuated community who are willing to get their hands dirty, spend all their time guiding our young force, which is filled with energy, a young force which is all go get our foot. There are foot soldiers, right? With full respect to them. Many of them are graduates from our own IITs. We need people who can handhold and sit with them. And we are looking for full-time employees, obviously. But I think this community needs to help translate a lot of advice that we get into action, right? And that too, in a full-time basis, is where we desire. But thank you for this wonderful question.
Thank you, sir. We'll have one last question from Shri Krishna Kishore Babaraju. Is there any AI research or model development happening around Indian music too? Is a question.
So our CEO, Mr. Rishi Bal, that's been his favorite in the to-do list. I mean, we want to do that. And I think we are at an interesting crux because of the launches of models during the Impact Summit. We think we can get into that space now. We did talk to some faculty who work in this space. But yes, certainly in our interest. Just that, as I said, if we can help augment and strengthen our team, we'll possibly have the bandwidth and wherewithal to tackle many more such problems. Currently, we just starved of a bandwidth.
Thank you very much.
And we do have the budget to grow. We do have, by the way, we can, I mean, we'll have people, we'll grow. But just if you can have people join us, it'll be a great contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ganesh and Ramakrishnan. I know we have told you between a ministry meeting and this talk. And I will say that your efforts and your team efforts are going to create a Maverick effect. We learned something called Maverick effect, where the different people and different communities come together and for a noble cause. And this is a great example. And this is only possible in a country like India, where people like Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan are there. So thank you very much, sir, for your excellent talk. And there are a lot of takeaways from the last this 15-20 minutes talk. Thank you very much once again. I'm very obliged and honored that you have accepted our invitation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Blessed to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganesh, sir. Thank you, Shri MD Agarwalji. After the power-packed keynote speech, we will now move on to the panel discussion. Before we begin with our panel discussion, I would like to invite Dr. Akila, Chairman of the Chennai chapter, to introduce our panel chair. Madam, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that opportunity. I'm very much privileged to introduce Mr. Dr. PVS Rao, sir. So, Paranandi Venkateshwara Surya Narayana Rao is an Indian computer scientist known for his research in the fields of speech and script recognition, and is credited with contribution to the development of TIFR, the first indigenously developed electronic computer in India. He is the recipient of awards such as IEEE Third Millennium Medal, Vikram Sarabhai Award, Om Prakash Bashan Award, and Vashvik Industrial Research Award. The government of India awarded him the 4th highest civilian honor of Padma Shri in 1987. We are very honored, sir. PVS Rao was born on 19 July 1936 to Venkata Surya Narayana and Lakshmi Amma Paranandi in Berhampur. He graduated in science from Utkal University in 1953 and secured a master's degree in science from Banaras Hindu University in 1955. Mr. Rao joined the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TIFR, in the R&D Department of Computers in 1955. He obtained a doctoral degree in physics for his work on the display of text and graphics on computer screens from the University of Mumbai. He worked there for 43 years, and at time of his retirement in 1998, he was serving as senior professor and head of the computer systems and communication group. During his tenure at TIFR, he worked as the project director of the sponsored project on air defense systems and research project on knowledge-based computer systems, sponsored jointly by the United Nations Development Program and Government of India. Mr. Rao was involved in the development of TIF RAC, and the first electronic computer developed in India in 1955. After its commissioning in 1959, he was involved with computer research activities at the University of Illinois and took part in the development of ILL-IAC tool, which was commissioned in 1962. He also sat on the governing council of the Indian Statistic Institute and the board of CMC Limited. He was president of Computer Society of India 1980 to 82 and chairman of All India Council of Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineering 1981 to 1983. He also served as a member of the editorial committees of journals such as IEICE Transaction on Fundamental of Electronics and Journal of Computer Science and Technology. He was the author of 3 books: An Introduction to Computer Programming in Photon and Other Languages, Basic Elementary Standard and Enhanced, and Trends in Computer Architecture and In-Depth Perspective, and contributed a chapter to a book in Data Conversion Principles. Mr. Rao is an elected fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences and the Indian National Science Academy, the National Academy of Science, and the Computer Society of India, and the Acoustical Society of India. He is a distinguished fellow of the India Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering and a senior member and distinguished visitor of the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineer. He received the award from Vivek Award in Gujarat. The 3 major awards received in 1987, the Om Prakash Bashin Award from O.P. Bashin Foundation, Vashvik Industrial Research Award from Vashvik, and Civilian Honor of Padma Shri from the Government of India. The Computer Society of India honored him with a Life Achievement Award in 2012. I'm very much privileged.
Yeah, even I am getting bored.
I'm very much privileged to
Please shorten.
Completed, sir. I'm very much privileged to introduce Dr. Professor P.V.S. Rao, sir. Sir, please.
Yes, sir. So you take over now.
Yeah. Firstly, I apologize for that introduction. My only confession is that I did not give it to her. I was offering to give her a short one and she refused. Well, coming to the subject, I am very grateful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity of interacting with you on this special occasion. I welcome all of you to the panel discussion. I know we have a very distinguished panel, so my role will be very minimal. It will probably be shorter than the introduction. My main goal is to ensure that this panel discussion does not become a paper presentation session. The emphasis is on discussion and exchange of ideas. With this end in mind, I am trying to divide this session into 4 parts. The first part is presentations by the panelists, and I would request the panelists to be crisp and brief in their presentation so that there is enough time for exchange of ideas. The second part, after all the panelists have finished their presentations, will be a brief interaction between myself and the panelists, a few questions that I might have myself to the panelists. The third part is mutual interaction between the panelists. And the fourth part is questions from the audience. So I would request the panelists to cooperate with me in making sure that the time we take, my introduction has already taken too much time, the time that we are going to take in our own presentations is short enough to give enough time for discussion and interaction between the panelists. Now, the order of presentation lends itself to a systematic sequence. So I'm going to take the subjects of education, health, employment, and important questions that are bothering most of the people who are exposed to artificial intelligence. So keeping this in mind and keeping in mind the topics that the panelists have already communicated to me, I'm going to call the panelists in the order: Dr. Sashi Kumar for education, Dr. Maluk Mohamed for health, Dr. Malaya Rout for employment, and for the crucial questions, Dr. Prem Narain Das. I'm going to call on these people in this particular order. Now, Dr. Sashi Kumar, if you're already there, I suppose you are there because you have already asked the question.
I am here. Thank you.
I have pleasure in introducing Dr. Sashi Kumar, MS PhD, who's been former executive director of C-DAC Mumbai and adjunct professor, Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology, Kerala. His specialization is in AI and educational technology. His subject is AI and education, and he presents a very optimistic picture about what lies ahead in the interaction between AI and education. Dr. Sashi Kumar.
Thank you, Professor Rao. And it's a pleasure to meet you after so many years.
Indeed.
And also the CSI fraternity. So I'll keep it brief to start with. So as we all know, AI's waves are being felt in education, as in health, commerce, and governance. Everybody is talking about AI. But the question we want to ask is, how is this AI being used in education? Because education is obviously different from a consumer-oriented area like health or commerce or governance. We are talking about building up a generation, or focusing on learning, which is something that is it's beyond measurement. So how is it being used? For what purpose? And what is the impact? And I think we have very little answers today about these uses. I recall one interaction I had with a professor from a leading institute when I was giving a talk in the ACM event in Indore, I think a couple of months back. So he responded to my talk and said he ran a full course using ChatGPT without any lecture or any course material. So, of course, it is a good case study to understand. But my question was, what purpose does it serve? I mean, if you are just going to replace course material with ChatGPT, what exactly are we trying to achieve? Is it giving a deeper learning? Is the learning actually getting better? Are the students benefiting more than what would be happening otherwise? Secondly, what assumptions underlying the success of this model? Obviously, in a leading institute like that, we have a lot more motivated students. Will it work across a lot of these other engineering colleges or other colleges where, that is something, it's too much of an assumption to make. And today, if you look at, there are more concerns being raised about this new AI or Gen AI than the positive side. I mean, there is one group of people who are expressing these concerns, and maybe there are others who are blindly going and exploiting it. One question is, for example, a lot of assignments that the students have to do are being generated through ChatGPT or Gemini or one of these tools. Even the evaluation of these assignments by teachers are often without human mind. They are leaving it to these tools to do the evaluation. Papers, there is a large number of papers getting rejected or retracted because of these interference from these Gen AI tools. There is a lot of blind trust in what the Gemini or any of these Gen AI tools are saying. So if Gemini says something, that is it. You don't need to go. Whereas if the people working in Gen AI, it says that Gemini output or any output from Gen AI tools should be very, very clear, carefully cross-checked. So there are those issues. So what I also want to bring up is AI is concerned with education is not a new area. From 1960s, 1970s, AI and education has been a very, very strong area. Intelligent tutoring systems, for example, has been a very huge amount of literature, a lot of things to learn from. But unfortunately, ITS did not take off as one we were expecting at that time. I mean, even I was a big champion of ITS, but we have very little successful stories to talk about. Can the new AI address these weaknesses and revive this notion of tutoring systems? Because they actually focus on tutoring, augmenting the teaching capability, focusing on problem solving and things like that. So we go beyond, instantiating more of what somebody calls stochastic parrots. I think that, and similarly, another area which is something that I'm also very interested in is personalized instruction and inclusion. Something that is badly needed, particularly on the inclusion side. But a lot of work has actually happened in the old AI space on this, but again, did not succeed or did not take off as envisaged. Basically, because we didn't have enough data, we didn't have enough tailored content. And that's exactly where the new AI or the Gen AI is coming out to be very strong. Can they actually revive these areas and make more practical or very useful contribution to education is the question that I want to look at. And the early AI had a lot of academic success, lots of papers, lots of theses and materials there. But with the image AI had at the close of 20th century, commercial backing was not there. So which is something that we can do today. How can we exploit that commercial energy to reinvent or revive these technologies? What we need are interventions that can make learning more effective, not simply providing alternate content or reducing the teacher load from that aspect. Do these interventions actually improve understanding? Do they really help us to focus on higher order thinking skills and build those things? Does it improve better retention capabilities? Do we have a better ways of assessing the learning of the learners? I think these are the questions that I think we should focus on. And there is, as I think Professor Ganesh's talk said, these are all open areas. There is tremendous amount of things that India can get into and contribute more in a less commercial way. And more important, these are in the new era of diminishing attention span and too many distractors reducing focus. And we have too many fake and incorrect info. So we don't really want just more content coming from all these Gen AI tools, but we want authentic content which can be justified, explained, and elaborated so that the learning gets deepened. So I will leave these with these thoughts for now, and maybe in the second or third phase we can take up more details. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very illuminating presentation. After education, we come to health, and that is the portfolio of Dr. M.A. Maluk Mohamed. His doctorate is from IIT Madras. He is a former Senate member of the Bharathidasan University and former syndicate member, Anna University. His specialization is digital twin technology, especially in health technology, precision treatment, prevention, remission of chronic metabolic diseases such as type 2 diabetes and obesity. His outlook is also very reassuring and optimistic, and I have pleasure in inviting Dr. Maluk Mohamed.
Thanks, Professor Rao, and I also would love to extend my thanks to Agarwal for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all. Dear friends, I would love to start with the problem statement very clearly. The world is really bleeding. In fact, being in the healthcare sector for the past 7.5 years, looking at the data, and I also hit the research of the company. So looking at the data is really scary. The reason is more than 50% of the adult population in this country, or globally in fact, is suffering with some chronic metabolic disease or the other, right? Diabetes, hypertension, obesity, fatty liver, PCOS, something or the other, people keep suffering. In spite of advancement in technology, in spite of advancement in pharma industry, why is it that we are not able to solve it, right? The truth said is, all these so-called diseases, high sugars in the blood, high blood pressure, or a PCOS, or infertility, All these are actually not diseases. The actual root cause of the problem is the dysfunctional metabolism. One reason behind all these peripheral conditions, right? But metabolism is what? Metabolism is 1,000+ biochemical reaction that takes place in the human body at every instance of time. God's creation is so beautiful that no two human has the same metabolism. Forget about no two human having the same metabolism. We ourselves don't have the same metabolism throughout our life. It's what we had 10 minutes back is not what we have now. It's so complex and dynamic. Because of its complex and dynamic nature, we did not have a way to measure it. Ultimately, high sugars is bad. High BP is bad. Cholesterol is bad. So what happens is, doctors, though they are aware of it, not to blame them, they have to control it. Ultimately, the so-called pharmaceutical solutions that are there is trying to treat the symptom and not the disease. Ultimately, that is the reason why these are said to be a lifelong progressive disease with the lifelong suffering of symptom, and eventually people die out of complications like heart attack, stroke, cancer, Alzheimer's, etc. Right? And the truth said is, can anyone tell me here saying that with medication I got things treated? Saddest truth is, it is all becoming it is sick care, it is not the health care. So if at all something has to be done, any company who is going to invent a technology to measure the metabolism is going to be the future of the world. That's where we picked up the problem statement. We said, can we do it? Very proud to share that we had invented a technology, first of its kind in the world, called the AI digital twin, by which we are able to measure the metabolism of a human body. We are the first company to do it. And we are the only company in the world who had understood the protein movement that happens in the human body. Now, having understood, having built a technology to precisely measure the metabolism of the human body, we are able to reverse this condition by solving the root cause of the problem. We are not here to help people to control sugars, manage BP, help people to reduce weight, help people to normalize their fatty liver, or help people to control any of this peripheral condition. Our focus is to go solve the root cause of the problem, is the dysfunctional metabolism at the mitochondrial level. That became revolutionary. This is not a story which I'm trying to tell. This technology is patented both in India and US. And we have proved the medical science in India and US. In US, we did it with Cleveland Clinic. So far, 1,15,000 people had got benefited from it. Right? It's revolutionary. Right? What is that here? The power of AI which is making a difference. Point number one. Yes, we built a technology to measure the metabolism. We have proved that every individual is unique and the treatment has to be personalized. Right? It should be precision. It should be, say, how your body behaves is completely different from the other body, how it behaves. So, is it that are we trying to solve the problem using medications? No. The beauty is, when we were all born, how did we grow? Mom fed us. We were moving our hands and legs. We slept well. We were breathing. The body literally requires only these four to be hale and healthy. But what happened? Once you have distracted the metabolism, you need to offer precisely, right? So typically there are a lot of people who claims that they reverse diabetes. Ultimately, when you cut the source of sugars gets normalized. There's no rocket science or magic in it. You lose weight, but at the expense of what? At the expense of elevated cholesterol and end organ damage. Because if anyone is trying to control the peripheral numbers, they land up in a mess. That is the reason why unmonitored dieting is said to be evil for a disruptive metabolic body. People say, I do intermittent fasting. Fine. But the data says that 91% of people who follow intermittent fasting land up with cardiovascular disease. It is not me who has said that. American Heart Association has published this data. So what is this AI? What is that AI digital twin? How does it do? What do we do about it? Right? So we pick up every day more than 3,000 data points from a human body by make people wearing sensors, sensor watch, a CGM patch, a weighing scale. Right? In addition to it, we ask people to do every quarterly blood work because the golden standard in healthcare solutions, blood diagnostic data, right? But the truth that you all need to understand is the blood parameters, when it is normal, doesn't mean that you are normal. There's a science behind it, but let me not talk about those things now, right? And the third is causal data. How do I pursue my body, my energy level, my mood, right? With these three sets of data, we build the digital twin of a human body. Very proud to share that as of today, 37 trillion digital twin resides in the cloud. The reason is every instance is a digital twin. Every instance is unique, right? So much digital twins are there in the cloud, cloud, right? So by precisely understanding, it recommends precision nutrition, precision activity, precision sleep. When I mean precision nutrition, the food that you eat, the digital twin understanding your body will recommend your meal plan. It ensures to balance the 87 nutrients that comes from the food that you eat. The so-called dietary program that exists in the whole of the earth talks about carbohydrates, fat, and protein, the macronutrients. Nothing. And the truth said, macronutrients are just a source of fuel to the body. The energizing factor is responsible for growth of hormone, growth of immune system, growth of cellular system, growth of bones are actually attributed to the 47 micronutrients that comes from the food that we eat. Similarly, the gut biome makes a huge impact, right? That is where the challenge comes in. I'll keep telling this, right? So when I talk about micronutrients, there are 47 micronutrients, and these are categorized as water soluble and fat soluble, right? And when it is water soluble, it gets, you need to replenish it daily because it extincts once it gets, or in 24 hours of time. If it is fat soluble, the half-life of each of this is continuously changing. One is 15 days, one is 1 month, one is 1 year, right? So now I keep telling everyone, right? The highest micronutrient required for a human body in a given day is potassium. 3,800 milligrams to 4,700 milligrams of potassium is required. There are 62 people here. Assume that I'm getting you a piece of tomato. Assume that it offers 300 milligrams of potassium, and each of us are consuming a piece of tomato. Can anyone here tell what is the bioavailability of potassium in our body? What do we consume this 300 milligram? But what is the bioavailability of potassium that is consumed in the body? No one can tell. It might be 10 milligram, it might be 150 milligram, it might be 270 milligram. The bioavailability of just not the potassium, the bioavailability of any nutrients for that matter depends on the other nutrients which is present in the body at that point of time. What does Twin do? Twin has invented this technology, first of its kind in the world, to measure the metabolism. What is metabolism? It's a biochemical reaction. So as we have a way to measure the metabolism, we are able to understand. That is the reason why in Twin, a health coach cannot give a meal plan. The digital twin, understanding your body, what activity you need to do, by which you are able to quality of sleep which matters. So by these three, we have proved that we are able to reverse the condition, we are able to eliminate medication, we are able to reduce medication. We had gone to the level where we had proved that infertility can be corrected. We are the only company in the world who had proved that the micro and macrovascular complication can be reversed. In the sense, the damage that has happened to the nervous system, the damage that has happened to the eyesight, the damage that has happened to the kidney, the damage that has happened to the heart can be reversed. American Heart Association awarded us twice for the revolutionary outcome that we've been developing. And depending on the kind of research outcomes that we had published, including the prestigious NEJM journal and the Nature journal, our treatment has become a standard of care, right? And how did we all come to go
Dr.
through this.
Mahmood, would you like to conclude, please? Because we are
Just
getting on time.
fine,
And anything remaining we can cover in the discussion.
just 2 minutes, right? So the genesis of what we did came from one of the founder, Dr. Jahangir Mohammed, was the one who was said to be the father of IoT. And he started his company called Jasper, which was acquired by Cisco, right? And most of the automobile across the globe is powered by Jasper. The autonomous driverless car is powered by Jasper. From that, we took the insight to build the whole body digital twin by which we are able to reverse chronic metabolic diseases. Thanks for the opportunity, and let me take it later. There is rest of the question. Sorry, I took a couple of extra minutes.
Well, thank you. It was a very illuminating and thought-provoking presentation. We'll certainly come back to some of these points later on. Thank you very much. After health, we come to employment. And for that, I call upon Dr. Malaya Rout, his MBA from IIM Calcutta, Chief AI Officer and Director of Data Science at Exafluence Incorporated. He is the author of 10 books. He is a columnist in Times of India, and his specialization is artificial intelligence and generative AI. And his subject he will be talking about, how will AI affect the Indian employment scene? He again is very optimistic and confident. So I call upon Mr. Malaya Rout, please.
Thank you, sir. And good evening, everybody. I very frequently get asked this question by my audience, by students from colleges, by my colleagues, and by my friends. Is AI going to take away our jobs? I say, my usual response is, AI will create more jobs than it will take away or destroy. It will just repurpose our roles. It will repurpose what we work on. For example, earlier I was sitting and writing pieces of codes in Python and R for 2 weeks or 3 weeks together to build a simple functionality. But now I realize the kind of productivity enhancement that the AI tools, especially the Gen AI tools and code generators, have given me is fantastic. I don't have to sit and type in the code and the syntax. I can design, I can do the higher level and higher value adding activities as part of my job, whereas I can instruct the AI tool to do the coding for me, to write the code for me. So the kind of roles will be repurposed, and we will do a different kind of tasks which will be higher in value addition to the chain of tasks or to the product that we are developing. So as sir said very rightly, I am quite optimistic about the employment scenario, especially in India, when AI is in picture. That is one. And I did touch upon the productivity part. It will increase our productivity. Within 1 week, we were able to deliver 2 things earlier. Now it will become 15 things that we are able to deliver, and extrapolate that to a lifetime. During my life, let's say without AI, one person does X number of activities and achievements. With AI and Gen AI, you will be able to do it 15x, calculating the productivity gain. And along with all of this, we have to note that we should not ignore the human in the loop, to design for a human in the loop. Because even if the AI tool writes the program for me, there are mistakes that it can do. And we might not be always able to communicate our ideas and thought processes in the best way to the AI tool. So there are chances of errors that we can get. from the tool, or chances of misalignment with what our original requirements are. In that case, there should be somebody to do a quick check, or might be the person who is writing the prompt to check the output, to check the response before implementing it directly or passing it on to the client or passing it on to the stakeholders. So critical design activities, we do. Repetitive tasks, AI will do. And we will function, human beings will function as the human in the loop. We term it HITL. So effectively with AI, probably we will be having 3-day work weeks instead of 4-day work weeks or 5-day work weeks. And is that not fantastic? Because the rest of the time we can spend on ourselves, with our families, and with other things that we also like doing and have never been able to do. And I would say this is the AI, especially the advent of generative AI and large language models, is a progress that we will probably see once in a lifetime. And it is one of the progresses to the extent of what we have seen when electricity was invented, when internet came into picture. And yeah, there are quite a few other things that we can talk about. We can talk about in more detail. I gave the example of programming or coding. Similarly, there are a lot of other tasks like brainstorming, where I can make use of AI tools to help me ideate. But the final control, I'll have to hold it. I'll have to take the responsibility of using AI in the best possible way. We cannot simply complain about the risks that AI brings. We will have to work with it. We will have to collaborate with it, and we will have to use it responsibly. So here I will stop with my presentation, and we can take any questions, or we can interact whenever we get a chance to discuss.
We'll do that. Thank you very much for a very pointed and succinct presentation. We'll come to the discussion and questions later on when all the panelists.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next panelist that we have will be answering a large number of very important burning questions that many of us have had in our mind ever since the disruptive changes that AI has brought into the picture. He is founder and CEO of Katonic AI, Top Innovator Award for 2023 and 2024, author of Own Your AI, the Sovereign Stack, Playbook for Nations and Enterprises, is a member of the Forbes Technology Council, Sovereign AI, and Enterprise AI Infrastructure. He is planning to address a number of important questions. India's AI sovereignty moment, own the stack or rent for the future. Whether AI is a prestige issue or a strategic necessity for India. The risk of AI bubble and India's exposure. The startup ecosystem's resilience. How India can avoid the trap of digital dependency that has constrained other emerging economies. So very important, very vital, very significant questions. So I very happily invite Mr. Prem Narain Das, founder and CEO, Katonic AI.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. P.V.S. Rao. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, yes.
Amazing. Thank you. So firstly, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm odd one out. I'm not the only doctor here, so I'm not the doctor, by the way. So But it's so nice to be, so nice to be here with, all the knowledgeable people here. So firstly, I'll do a quick intro about myself. I know Mr. Rao presented, but yeah, I'm sitting on the other side where I help enterprises get value, because there is so much of investment which has gone into AI, right? There's GPUs, there's data centers, there is this amazing innovation happening in India. I heard about the BharatGen models, Kruthyam. There's so many nice innovations happening, but ultimately, when it comes to an enterprise, right? I'll probably focus more on enterprise first, and then I'll talk about countries. Every enterprise, when a CIO or CEO gets up, they're not thinking, okay, I want to implement AI, let me buy some AI projects or let me do some AI projects. Nobody really wants to do that, right? So when they get up, their burning problems are, they want to either make their employees productive. Mr. Malaya talked about AI doing the coding. So how do you make your developers productive? How do you make your salespeople sell better? How do you make your service engineers become better, right? How do you use AI? Mr. Sashi Kumar talked about education, right? How do you educate them? So how do we make employees productive, right? How do you automate the processes? There's so many processes which are happening in an enterprise. How do you automate that? And how do you improve the customer experience? And ultimately, how do we make money out of it, right? So every enterprise, right? And while I talked about enterprise, let's also talk about a country, right? So a country needs to run its administrative, right? So there's defense, there's research, there is education, there's healthcare. They also will be using AI. And essentially, like how Mr. Malaya said, AI is going to be the electricity. So 10 years back, there was internet. Now you cannot imagine life without internet. All the businesses happen through internet. Then there was a mobile revolution, and AI is the next wave. I don't think any business can happen in AI in next 2-3 years. We at Katonic live and embrace that. So as a founder and CEO of Katonic, our job is to help enterprises and government implement these, solutions in a way that you can have control over it. Imagine, all the good things which Mr. Sashi Kumar, actually Mr. Maluk Mohamed mentioned about the health, right? Imagine we implement that and everybody is using that, and all of a sudden one day you've been told that you don't have access to that because somebody 10,000 kilometers away decided that we should take away access from you, right? It's happened in Russia, it's happened in Huawei case, right? Things can change. Your friends can become your enemies tomorrow. Geopolitical tension is there. So how do you build? So while everybody agrees that there is value to AI, how do you build systems which can give you value, but also in a way that you have complete control over it? And that is what sovereign mean. You'll hear sovereign being used time and again, but ultimately it's about how do you build a system, or how do you, use AI in a way that you can control that. I've helped, we have installations in 11 countries. I've helped several enterprises, including the largest telco in Philippines, launch their own sovereign AI cloud. And time and again, the same questions were being asked. So that's why I wrote this book. It's called Own Your AI, which helps enterprises understand what goes into building an AI stack and how do you really, build it in a way that you have control. So if you see, look, AI, it has multiple things, right? Everybody talks about data center. So AI needs a home, and data center is your home, and there are companies like Yota, there's so much of investment happening in India, which is great, right? And then the second layer is your infrastructure layer. So you have the home, then you need the infrastructure. So you need the machines, right? You need the compute, you need the Dell machines, HP machines. And unfortunately, a lot of people think sovereign means building at home. There's a huge difference between sovereign and indigenous. Indigenous is you are self-reliant, you're building everything from scratch, and you have the entire supply chain in the country. Unfortunately, in the AI world, you can't do that. You are still dependent on NVIDIA for GPU. You're still dependent on external companies on CPU to a great extent. So sovereign essentially means in control, not necessarily indigenous. I think that's an important differentiator we need to do. So you need the compute, you need the HP, Dell, then you need the NVIDIA GPUs, and then you need the software on top of that, which we provide. And then on top of that, you have the application layer, where you're building these applications. So as AI is going to become prominent in the next 5 years, every business is going to be run by AI. It becomes more and more important to, control that, and that's what we enable do that. And I see that is a great opportunity for India as well. I was invited to an event last year in France where I had an opportunity to meet Mr. Narendra Modi as well in Paris. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to India this time. So there's huge amount of investment going, and there's a lot of innovation happening at every layer, right? So there's a lot of data center investment happening. There's a lot of investment happening in hardware. There's an amazing innovation happening in the model layer, right? So in the foundation model layer, a small, large, we talked about BharatGen. There's many other companies. Now, how do you bring all of this together to deliver value to enterprise becomes more and more important, right? And how do you control that becomes more and more important. And essentially, when you build a system, in the book I've talked about 4 tests, right? Do you control the infra? Do you control the application layer? And depending on your security posture, you can decide, because the more sovereign you want to become, the more expensive it becomes. So depending on your, so that's what we've done. So yeah, I'm here to talk more about how we can help enterprises get value, because technology means nothing unless it delivers value, right? Research means nothing until it's adopted. And all of this means nothing if you have no control to it. If somebody just takes away one day, if it all goes away, that becomes a problem. So yeah, that's where I see that there's a huge opportunity for India to bring all of the innovation which is happening, the research which is happening together, and build these sovereign solutions, which I see already happening with all the investments which were announced, 200 billion plus investment. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any question more on the practicality of how AI systems are built, how do you go into production, the challenges you have, and how do you deliver value, and also agentic AI, because last year was about models, but models don't mean anything. Agents are the ones which are the modern workers, which are going to help. So my prediction is that every employee is going to be a manager in 2027 onwards. You are either managing humans, or you're managing AI agents, or you're managing both, because that's the future. And in order to make those agents happen, you need infrastructure, and you need to be in control of that. That is what is the sovereignty, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm happy to answer any question. I'll conclude with that. But thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for a very thought-provoking and illuminating presentation. We'll certainly come to all these questions in the discussion session. This brings us to the end of part 1, and part 2 is my privilege, and that is questions from the chair. There are 2 things I want to say here. Number 1, I'm going to be very selfish and be the first one to ask questions to all the panelists before I let anyone else to do that. And number 2, to a large extent, I'm going to be the devil's advocate. To stimulate debate, I'm going to try, without being offensive, try to present the other side. Not because I believe these, but because these questions do exist, and it will help to address them and to answer them. Okay, I'll follow the same order as the order of the presentations. Coming to education, Dr. Shashi Kumar, I hope you're ready.
Yes.
You have already talked about some of the misuses that AI is being subject to. One is people using AI to submit their school, college presentations, and even theses and so forth. The other thing is papers. Nowadays, unfortunately, citations have become an unfortunate meter for achievements, and people will go to any length to have a decent list of citations. Therefore, they are very keen to have their papers accepted. That is one side of the story. So firstly, there is a certain attempt to take help of AI in writing papers, perhaps a little constrained because scientific papers, there is only you can take AI's help only to a certain extent. The second thing, referees whose duty is very sacred have started using AI to assess papers. Now, the authors are trying to get one step over them. And now we're talking about the art of prompting and the art of giving subtle instructions to the AI tool that is evaluating your papers. It seems that in your paper, you can put subtle, unseen prompts that puts pressure on the AI assessor to give a favorable review of your paper and to recommend its acceptability. That is the second thing. And the third thing, AI, people say, can promote or can encourage superficiality in learning. In the olden days, we could, I think everybody present here, could do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division without using any calculators and sometimes without even using pen and paper. We would do a shopping and do this. Now, I was surprised in the United States. I would go to the counter in the university and I would give the right change. And the girl would ask me, how did you get it back? I did it orally. And she would go clackety-clack in the old mechanical thing and come and be surprised. Now, in India, even the shopkeepers used to be able to calculate the amount that is due to them or mentally. Nowadays, even the greengrocer has a little calculator. And I find that educated persons, people with scientific degrees also have to use a calculator to do simple calculations. So this is something that has already happened due to the digital age. Now, will the same thing happen with AI? With AI taking the lower level, and I don't know up to what level, burden of thinking, will humans lose their ability to do basic thinking and basic creative thinking the same way as they have lost their numerical skills? Now, these are the questions that I would like you to briefly respond to.
Okay. I think I didn't write down all the questions, but anyway, let me kind of go over. So I think I'll start with the last one there. So you are actually bang on the dot because there is actually a lot of literature now coming out saying about using these AI technology, particularly Gen AI, because whatever you are not sure about, just ask Gen AI, produce the answer. You don't think, you don't apply your mind. There are studies which says that there is visible cognitive capability. A loss of this capability is visible in many studies because of this extreme reliance there. Now, if you look at, I mean, for example, if I take a Gen AI output, Gemini or otherwise, and I analyze that, I phrase it in my own words, then I think there is a lot more application of mind. But this doesn't happen. And I think in some cases that you mentioned earlier, there are papers where the Gen AI is prompt and some part of that wording is itself left in the paper, and by oversight or otherwise, we don't know. So I think these are all, so the concern about loss of mental or cognitive ability that we have acquired over millions of years of evolution is something that people have actually been talking about on a serious note. And I do believe that there is a ground in it because, like, for example, the ability to take notes. Now, I see a lot of people asking on the question on the chat about taking notes. I still want to take my notes with pen and paper. I don't feel comfortable with anything else. I mean, okay, I don't mind typing it on a machine also, but I don't want the AI to summarize my notes because I don't know whether I'm missing, whether my perspective of the notes and the session or the talk and AI's perspective of that session and talk will match. Because what I want With what I find important, what I find interesting, it may not be so for AI. So if I leave it to AI and come back and do an analysis, I don't know whether I'll be, I mean, is it as good as, listening to it and taking my notes? I doubt it. So I think there are big worries and queries on all these aspects. We don't have clear answers, but there are people at least who have started asking these questions. There are little worrying initial responses on the mental ability and all that. The paper writing part also, I think people have started, I think there is a more underlying problem with the paper writing, because this is also, there are a lot of studies which says, referee's point, you have rightly said, lot of referees, we look at a paper and say, originality, okay, accept, writing, okay, content, okay, and this thing, accept. This is obviously something that you can replace with AI. I don't think there is any value addition or value loss in the process. This is because we have undervalued the refereeing process. We don't understand that refereeing is a social responsibility to the research community. If I don't referee, I don't do justice to the referee work that I get. I can't expect others to do work. So my research doesn't grow. It doesn't get the criticism that it should be getting. So I think this aspect we are losing, primarily because, particularly in India, because there is a lot of pressure to publish, because, accreditation, you have to get A+ grade, I have to get this, I have to get publication. This is an ecosystem which is damaging research far more than it is encouraging. Therefore, even an MTech student who implements a Fibonacci program, you will actually ask him to write a paper on it. I'm sure somewhere it will get accepted. You have a publication. So if that is the kind of paper which is going to come to me for refereeing, is it worth my spending time on it? even my AI program might ask the same question. Why are you wasting my time for that kind of thing? So
Thank you very much for a very
big
frank
questions.
answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now, going to help Dr. Maluk Mohamed, you have touched upon some very important points, and it is really indeed impressive. Now, the kind of things that bother me are the things that several people are worried about in connection with AI. One is hallucination, fallibility, and to my mind, the most important thing, transparency. The old mycene that was developed decades back before neural nets, transparency was the most important point. So you go to the system queries you, and it comes up with a diagnosis, and you ask why. Then it gives you all the reasons. So the reasoning process is transparent, is evident to the designer, and more importantly, to the user or the doctor consulting. Now, this kind of a thing, one says artificial neural nets are black boxes and deep neural nets are blackest of black boxes. And if you go one step further, you say these, large language models and large concept models are even blacker than blackest. It's very difficult even for the designer to find out what goes on. So how does one manage this issue of transparency in connection with use of artificial intelligence systems in medical diagnosis and treatment?
So that's a fantastic, valid question which people repeatedly ask. In addition to what you said, people are also concerned about the security of the data, right? And this is where I would love to insist in that the advancement in technology also supports in ensuring the management and monitoring of compliances like HIPAA. We are strictly HIPAA compliant and we are DPP compliant, and there's a system which monitors any breach of any such kind of data or any transparency issues, right? And we had demonstrated both in India and US about that. And you know how finicky is US, right? Manipulation of any of the things are any cutting corners, you are just now you are thrown out, right? We had so far raised 311 million. We are funded by big investors like Sequoia, Iconic, and Temes. No cutting corners, and that's the reason why we had run randomized control. And we had, even you will not believe, we have saved all the blood samples that we had done on our trials, and we had stored it even today because we knew that at some point of time someone is going to come and question us, think that, hey, the reversal rates that you had proved, is it true, right? So all those samples we had still stored, right? And in fact, we worked with IT research work, and we worked with DRDO to validate completely about our work.
Very good. Thank
Couple of professors from IT Madras themselves got enrolled to the program, including Professor Jinjanwala themselves got enrolled to the program for reversal of hypertension, right? And it is validated to that level. We had ensured for validation and with appropriate agencies and forum to ensure that these doubts are points of view.
Thank you very much. That's very reassuring. I have only one more question. You know, this is personalized, highly personalized, as you said. So personalized diagnosis, personalized treatment, which involves personalized pharmaceutical supplies. Now, is this economically practical for the average citizen?
It is, if you ask me, economically, it is far cheaper than what the individual spends on their health today. Today, on an average, a diabetic who is around 5 years of diabetic spends more than 80,000 per year. And if he gets into complication, it is horribly bad. In spite of spending money, his condition doesn't become better. It continues to be worse, and medication keeps increasing. Whereas here, the one-time investment on the sensor alone is costlier. After that, it's nothing. That's technology, right? And it is free from medication. Right? Overall, if you look at the economy, it is far cheaper than what is spending.
Thank you very much. That's very reassuring. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Now coming to employment. Malaya, Rout. The lowest level, they say, is most affected in all these displacements. And these are people who are not intellectually or professionally well equipped to migrate or even to move upwards. So this will probably be a traumatic experience for them. That is one point. The second thing, the managers and the managers of managers, these are all going to be either superfluous or will have to reorient themselves, re-educate themselves over a large period of time. So one suspects that the AI revolution will become quite a taxing experience for people who are least equipped to deal with it. It is the higher echelons, people, researchers and entrepreneurs and senior managers have the flexibility, have the bandwidth to manage it. Now, is this not a possibility? How would you react to that?
Yes. First of all, Nagaraj sir, may I request you to please go on mute because I guess there is some background noise. Nagaraj sir?
Yes, please.
Can you please go on mute? I guess there is some background noise from your side. Yeah, I think, now it is better. Yes, first of all, I would like to start with saying that I am taking all of my notes using pen and paper. I'm not typing anything on the laptop now, right now.
Same here.
Yeah. So, but true, there was a period of 10 to 15 years when I had completely lost touch writing using a pen, but I resumed it. I realized it soon enough, later than never, and I resumed it. Okay, the first point that you raised, sir, I would agree with it, because when we say that somebody will have to be upskilled to do a higher value adding work, the person should be ready to be upskilled and should be in a position to be upskilled. Otherwise, there will be trauma. There will be trauma and there will be negative impacts, negative effects of the development. Especially imagine the digital divide that it will create. My answer to the digital divide will be, it will widen further. Because the whole of AI and large language models are based on a digital foundation. If there is no digitalization, no data, there will be no data science and there will be no large language models. So only people having or digitally equipped are getting all the benefits out of it. Imagine another level, the so-called lower level in terms of skill set. They will be at the same position. They still do not have access to the digital world. So the divide will increase. And that will be a trauma where upskilling is the only way, or at least if not upskilling in the core technology, at least the upskilling should be in the way of how to use AI or how to use something which is created by AI to do your work. The same difference we see now. Somebody comes to us and says, "Oh, I don't know how to open Microsoft Word. I don't know how to use an Excel sheet." That's the challenge we still have here. Similar questions and similar dilemma we will have when AI or the large language models take over most of the repetitive tasks. So the first point to your first point, sir, I would agree. The second is managerial roles. Many companies, including Google and Amazon, they have already announced they don't need managers. They don't need people and project managers anymore. They need tech managers who can actually collaborate and interact with AI and generative AI, and at least guide their team on technical matters. So that is another shift that we are seeing and we will see in the future. Look at all the job descriptions that we have now, that are floated now. Every 90% or 95% of them demands exposure to AI. Imagine 20 years ago when similar job descriptions were floated, asking for exposure to basic Microsoft Office tools. Now, I don't think anybody is mentioning that. That's a given. That's an assumption that somebody applying to work in an IT services company, for example, would know that. Similar thing is going to happen with AI. So yes, it would be taxing also for certain managers who for the last 10, 15 years, the mid-manager level, have been working only on people and project management. And I know personally many companies and many of the teams are now rushing to upskill their mid-managers. And managers also find it difficult, having lost touch with very fast learning and very robust learning. It becomes a matter of difficulty. I don't mean to create a divide between saying somebody who is more intelligent or less intelligent. It's just the nature of the job that they have been doing for the last 15 years. For the last 15 years, I'm filling in Excel sheets and typing in leave approved, leave rejected, 2 more resources, provide me 2 more resources for this project. I have been doing that for the last 15 years. all of a sudden I'm required to know how large language models are designed and built from scratch, know the difference between closed source LLMs and open source LLMs, know fine tuning of large language models. So yes, there will be a shift, there will be some trauma, but overall, if you see the progress of mankind, I think this has been a very, very positive step. Probably we will not be there, but in another 100 or 150 years, we will realize that this has been a foundational lift for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Narain, you have dealt with a number of interesting questions, and I thought I'll sort of, get a few clarifications. One thing that you mentioned is whether you should own your stock or rent it. Obviously, your answer is that we should own and not rent it. Now, the point that follows from that is that a large investment in a critical technology is worthwhile for a country and for the industry at large. Okay. Now, I belong to the atomic energy family myself, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research and so on, but I would like to use atomic energy itself as an example. I hope they won't take me to task for it. We have made a lot of investment in that. And our initial stated objective was peaceful uses of atomic energy for health and primarily for power generation. We have made tremendous progress in that. Now, the world at large learned that that is not an unmixed blessing. The bubble didn't burst there, but the balloon that we floated gradually lost air and made a not very soft landing with incidents in Japan and Chernobyl and things like that. Now, today, if anyone asks us whether our investment in atomic energy is justified, we can proudly say yes, because it gives us the nuclear deterrent. But for argument's sake, let us remove that from the consideration. If we say the world was benign, everybody was a saint, and we didn't have to worry about nuclear bombs and nuclear deterrents, would it, I don't know how much has been invested in atomic energy. Part of it has been justified for health, genetic modifications and so on. But as all that just investment, could that have been justified purely on the basis of the non-defense applications of nuclear energy? That is a question that is not very easy to answer, at least openly. All right. Now, the point is, there are strong reasons for us to be self-sufficient in artificial intelligence. I don't know whether we should aim to become world leaders. You don't aim, in a running race, maybe you aim to be first, you run to be first. But in this kind of a thing, you aim to do your best and not to be the best in the whole world. Anyway, so now I would like you to readdress this question in the context of what I said very briefly.
Great comparison. So, see, firstly, AI is no more a technology, it is an infrastructure. So you can compare that with the backbone of what India runs on, right? The highways, there's internet and things like that. And definitely when you have all your important things running on your infrastructure. You want to control the infrastructure, right? And this is not the first time, right? There's UPI, there's so many initiatives which India has taken, which is really reduce the dependency on, MasterCard, Visa using UPI, and then there is now the other initiative, ONDC, which is reducing reliance on third parties. So keeping that trend. So going back to your question around the atomic investment, when India started investing in atomic, they never thought about nuclear. It was more with how do we use atomic energy for betterment of the masses. So similarly, when you start with AI, it's about how do we improve the productivity. It is about how do we use in the case of health better diagnosis and things like that. But as you go, there will be, so India is always, it's never attacked anybody, right? We try to protect ourselves, but then at the same time we need to be equipped. So if the reason we built nuclear bomb is because we saw the world building and we wanted to protect ourselves, not because we wanted to. We are not the first ones. So similarly, you need to invest in AI because it is going to be your infrastructure. It is going to be an infrastructure. You're going to get a lot of value. The entire GDP will go up. But at the same time, there will be bad actors using AI for cyber, attacks. They might use AI for other things. So you need to also invest in the ability to defend yourself using AI for AI, right? Like atomic for atomic. So having said that, yeah, definitely, do you want to be leaders or not? I mean, being a leader is a byproduct, right? I mean, I don't think India should aim to be a leader. India is always known for doing things indigenous, cheaper, faster, better, like the moon example. Similarly, I think China kind of, with DeepSeek, took away the AI world, but it's a matter of time before our friends from BharatGen and others who come back. I think it's all about innovation, and we talked about the bridge, that the gap widening. I think I have a contrary view to all my previous three presenters. I feel AI will bring more people into digital world. So if you see, until WhatsApp came, my mom had no clue about computers, and WhatsApp really changed her life, and now she's more on WhatsApp than me, not because she suddenly became tech savvy, because it was easy to use. Yeah. Similarly, AI is going to take away the entry barrier, because I think we're still stuck to the form factor of today, right? Laptop, mobile. Think about the voice form factor. The BharatGen, they showed us those nice models. So imagine you just say, okay, do this for me in Tamil, and someone who doesn't use technology today, including WhatsApp, is now suddenly able to do things which he or she had never imagined. So I feel AI, especially if you think from the existing form factor, you'll feel the gap will widen. But I think more and more people will send payment. My mom just started using Paytm a few months back, right? Because there was still an entry barrier. But imagine if you could say, send $5 or 5 rupees to this person. So it is going to reduce the gap. Should we invest? Of course we should. Do we want to be leaders? I don't know. Will we end up using AI bad way? Maybe yes, but more from a defense perspective rather than being a provocative. This one overall, yeah, of course we should invest. We should be sovereign. We should be innovative. We should show the world maybe another UPI or ONDC moment is what I feel. So yeah, and again, thank you for this opportunity to answer. I'm happy to answer if there's any other question.
Very good. Thank you very much for a very balanced answer. Now that takes us to the end of part 2 and to the beginning of part 3, and that is interaction between panelists. So I would like panelists to feel free to ask questions or express opinions among themselves. Anyone who wants to say something perhaps can just
I can go first. Yeah. I can ask a question if it's okay, but I'll let you complete, Mr. Previous now. Yeah.
Maybe you should take a little break because you probably want a glass of water.
Sure.
Let the others go ahead and then you can come back. Any
Okay,
others?
so I think, yeah.
Yeah, he's based out of Melbourne. Must be right now. Narain.
No, I'm currently in
I
Dubai.
see.
I'm in Dubai, so where all the action is happening. So I'm behind you today for a change. Yeah.
As we speak, he's moving. So we don't know. Maybe by the end of the panel discussion, he might be in some other place.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty good. There's nothing happening. Yeah, it's just scary news, but it's all good here. Yeah, yeah.
All papers and social media are all scary things talking into the world. Okay, my question, I mean, just my usual take on AI is also that while of course there are a lot of wonderful things that AI is able to do and bring to the table, there are also a lot of not so wonderful things that is happening, and we don't know whether the good will overtake the bad or the other way around. So, for example, I mean, while you are able to do a lot of communications, a lot of tasks by verbal, which is actually been there for last 15 years also. Speech recognition, I think Professor P.V. Rao has also worked on these kind of technologies 20 years back. But the technological richness was, computing power, data availability, they were constraints. But all right, so they are there today. It's obviously helping. A lot of people are coming to use technology, not necessarily AI, use technology because of these factors. But that is also bringing in, even today I saw something on Facebook saying dead people being brought alive with fake videos. Okay, so you can actually take your photograph, your, 3 generations back, your, grandparent or whatever, and bring him to come and talk to you. There are also videos circulating with all the, Indian rishis, Patanjali and all that, making statements. Vivekananda is giving a talk to you. So now this is, I think, is obviously not a completely positive thing, because for a young generation who is coming in, who may not be that mature in understanding, I have a problem understanding what is real and what is fake. I mean, for example, take the war, for example. There are so many videos, really, really real looking videos. I don't know whether Iran is doing well or America is doing well or somebody else is doing well. I don't know what is happening. Is this the AI that we want? What do we do about it? Yeah, I think any of the panelists can share
now,
your thoughts.
Please, Dr. Narain, I stopped you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go for it. So firstly, okay, so I was brought up in Bangalore, right? And when it doesn't get too hot in Bangalore, but when it gets hot, I like to drink Elnir, which is a coconut water. Okay. So when you go there, you have this gentleman who has a big knife and making, okay, now there's another incident in Delhi where somebody stabbed with the same knife, right? And I mean, the answer is not to just ban the knife, right? Because then the livelihood, so every tool or every equipment, yeah. So in your case, what you're saying is more application of a technology. It could be a tool, right? And it can go back all the way, right? I mean, you can take a stone and throw it on somebody's head, but you can't ban. So it's also, I think it's also about bringing in the law and order being catching up with technology. Unfortunately, law used to be quite ahead because the rate at which things used to change was not so fast. But now the rate at which things are changing, unfortunately, it's so hard for even people like us to catch up. So there needs to be reforms around law, and I think it's more about the control and law and order rather than the technology itself. So targeting AI is wrong. Of course, I agree with you that it can be used in a bad way, but look at all the good things, right? I've never seen my grandfather, but if I can create a video and look at him, probably my affection towards him will improve. And I'm a Sindhi, right? During partition, we suffered a lot, but if I can go and do a view of where my grandfather's, so I mean the same technology, different lens, and I think it's about controlling in law rather than the technology ban itself, right? It's also about emails, right?
The capability, because I don't know, I cannot blame somebody because the capability exists. Now, yeah, I mean you're right about the law part, but I don't know whether the law is the right
solution. The solution is social media. You make identity important, and when fake news is, so you know who's generating. So you start treating social media as real world, because today I can create fake account, maybe. So things. So eventually, I think it's matter of time. In a year or so, I mean, already countries have put bans on deepfake, right? It's a matter of time that the law will catch up, and you'll probably not see that happen again.
So to add to what Prem said, we are in the early stage of the AI world which is coming up. So the same AI will start to build in policies, frameworks where all these will automatically be shut down or very clearly say this is a fake one. It's a matter of time because such regulations are important. The most scary thing is in application of healthcare system, right? If something in the name of AI, some wrong claim starts to hit in, and if it goes on the article on the negative side, it's really terribly bad, right? That's a real concern.
I have a few things to say. First of all, I hope the war was AI generated, and whatever news we are getting online of missiles being exchanged, if I can put it that way, in a more polite way, harmless way, were AI generated. But I guess no. So first thing is, sir mentioned about transparency in the discussion for healthcare. So that is called explainability of a solution which is using large language models or AI models. And that explainability is created by telling very clearly what kind of training data set was used for building this model. And when you do a prediction using that model, or when the AI system generates a recommendation for a patient on behalf of a doctor and the doctor takes it in his hand, the system itself should say, I came up with this prediction because this is the topmost factor. The second top factor is this, the third one is this. So that adds to the transparency, and that helps the patient get more trust out of the system. So explainability is one thing. And the second is for addressing the dilemma or the misrecognition of whether a video is AI generated, whether a content is AI generated. I think a few months back, Sundar Pichai, if I'm not wrong, they spoke about a synth ID concept which can be attached to any content which is generated by AI. And when we get into a technical solution like that, you can never miss, or any of the other systems can never miss, what is created by AI and what is created by the humans. So I guess AI itself or the technology itself will guard against what we are scared of, against what we are worried about, along with the regulations.
Yeah, Malaya, to answer to your question related to personally with respect to twin health, here looking at the body, understanding the metabolic status, we are just recommending what the member has to eat, what activity he has to do, and we are talking about the sleep. The typical routine of an individual. We are trying to solve the biology and behavior of human body, which is very, very unique, right? And the typical titration of medication is precisely done based on the globally approved standard of care.
Yeah.
Right? There is nothing deviation from it, right? Looking at the peripheral numbers, the medication titration is happening. Looking at the inside, we are titrating the food, activity, and sleep. So ultimately, there is nothing else here. So the threat of the other kind of claims doesn't exist in solutions like twin, where we are trying to focus on chronic metabolic diseases.
I guess it's not the twin which will be difficult to.
I was just trying to tell
one
version of it. Yeah,
I
totally
got it.
Yeah.
And simply because it is in healthcare, the patient will never take a chance unless he is confident.
I'm totally with you. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. We'll take a short break because there are a few questions which I'll pose. And if you finish those, then till end we can continue this discussion. These questions will probably take only a little time. Some of them are already answered. The first one is, AI is data-driven technology. In this AI area, is it a boon or bane to society as a whole? We need to be alert and cautious always. Your comments, please. My comment is entirely true. Anyone else wants to make any comment on this question?
Actually, I think I have also replied to that on the chat itself. Actually, that's the reason I was actually asking that question, because I have seen the old AI, and I think Professor Rao also knows the old AI and what we were doing, how we were doing. So whenever I talk about AI, I have an old AI, new AI, old AI, new AI. So I think, I mean, it's not that I don't want to change or I don't want to look at the capability of the new technology. But the problem with the new technology or the new AI is it is 150% data driven. If your data is somehow biased or incorrect or whatever, the system learns it. There is absolutely no way to checkpoint the system and say, look, this is stupid. No, such things don't happen in there. It is because the data is, biased in some way. So the completely expecting that a set of data points will teach you something about the universe, the basics of the universe, the great laws of our universe, I think is too far-fetched. For making decisions whether whether this is a flower, this is a, this disease, all that is perfectly fine, because you don't need a lot of world knowledge. You can actually, I mean, it's far more restricted domain. But when you expand it to AGI, artificial general intelligence, try to look at broader problem solving, I think it is going to kill. Okay, because it is, I don't think achieving general purpose intelligence is possible without some element of symbolic reasoning capability being brought in. So this symbolic data-driven marriage is obviously an open question, but I think that has to be brought in some way or the other, which is our system one, system two, as Dave Kahneman talks about in his Thinking Fast and Slow. I think these are all hot questions. We see one angle. I mean, I all agree with that perspective, but there is also the other perspective. Like, for example, it is impossible to avoid hallucination in a probabilistic prediction system. It is impossible, whatever you do, because probabilistic prediction is probabilistic. Now, how do I make sure that when I'm teaching a student, I recognize that I'm making a wrong, I mean, I'm taking a guess. I tell the student, look, I'm not very sure, but I think it could be a reference by this. That's what we as a teacher do. Will the AI system be able to do that? So these are kind of broader questions on AI, and coming up to that. Yeah, thank you.
And as they say, hallucination is not a bug in generative AI tools, in large language models. It's a feature.
It is a bug if you look at it one way. If it can be a feature, because it is enabling you to think of new things. But when I'm asking you about existing things and you fabricate it, then it is a bug.
Yeah. And that fabrication is the only reason we are getting very creative poems and language-centric creativity from the large language models, right? So, yeah.
So see, in my view, I think the focus is too much on data. Sorry, I want to interrupt here, right? So if you see, AI is evolved, right? 4 years back, AI was like a parrot where you teach something, it machine learning, right? If the data was wrong, if parrot starts scolding you because you thought it wrong, right? But later the generative AI came where the reliance was more on data. So I would say, write a LinkedIn post for me, it would hallucinate, right? But now I think it depends on the use case. There are two capabilities which AI offers. It's not just data, it is the reasoning ability. So whatever you said, I agree with you 100% on the data. So if I use a AGI model, like a ChatGPT model or OpenAI, it will hallucinate. It still has its own problem. It is improving, but it's not perfect, right? But in order to solve that, there is retrieval augmented systems and all those things come up. But I think going forward in the next few years, we will be using the reasoning ability of AI. What do I mean by reasoning ability, right? So I do 10 meetings. I record all of those meetings. I have the transcript. I send it to an agent, which looks at my transcript and goes updates my CRM, right? It would take me 2 hours. Now, what did I do? The data, input data was mine. The CRM is mine, right? The agent took my data. It used its reasoning capability and it updated. Can it make mistakes? Maybe yes. But this is where human in loop comes into the picture. And this is where, again, my analogy of managing agents becomes, so I don't do anything. I just manage agents. I have an agent for everything, right? So I think slowly the world has probably realized that data is a problem, hallucination is a problem, but we can use reasoning ability and with a lot more smaller models and get value. It's basically automating things using the reasoning ability. So I think that's where the world will eventually go.
And sir,
This
first
second
of all,
question,
we
I
shouldn't
think we have
call it
to
AG.
sum up, sir. We have to sum up another 10 minutes.
yeah, no problem.
I was trying to say we should not call it AGI, Prem sir, because I guess we are, I believe we are far from AGI now. Not yet there.
No, I agree. I think somebody used, so I just copied back. So data problem. So I just, like a parrot, I just told back. But I agree.
The next question, I think we can bypass. It says how this will help in education. That has been dealt with very adequately, so we don't have to answer that once again. The third question is addressed specifically to Dr. Maluk Mohamed. Is there any insight that can be shared in the field of cancer usage, cancer treatment?
So we had a couple of patients who were post-cancer who had joined us. And the fundamental thesis is if you go fix the metabolism of the human body, you'll be able to correct in a big thing. I'll quote a simple example. A female who was 54 years old, cancer survivor, breast cancer, breast removal was there. The total left hand was in pain continuously, and she cannot even lift a small 1 kg stuff. After joining a program, what happened was her energy levels and mood were completely great, and her cancer continuing medications got reduced, and her pain in the hand has gone off. This is one story. And I could keep telling stories in a lot of real-time testimonial stories which we had seen. So ultimately, because the base is the metabolism, you go fix it. Cancer cells are fed by sugars. Ultimately, metabolism runs in the insulin metabolism. Inflammation, glucotoxin, lipotoxin, if you are able to optimize, everything gets corrected. And that's where pressure is required. The answer is yes, we are able to do it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is longish but interesting. How do you think explainable AI techniques can be integrated with cyber security mechanisms to build secure, transparent, and trustworthy AI infrastructures for large-scale enterprise environments in the future?
Okay, so
everybody is going.
Maybe a question for me. Yeah, you want to go, Sashi?
Yeah, so maybe, okay. So I have some thoughts on that because explainability is also something that we have also been looking at for a long time. So
Be
what
brief,
is explainable?
because the organizers are
Yeah, I
very
will do only 1 minute. So explainability is there are two dimensions to it. One, if you ask a human being to explain a reasoning, it is not the kind of explainability that the XAI or whatever that is today available does. Okay, it's not like giving you some heat map or whatever and say, though, now you go and figure out why something happened. There is a reasoning trace that gets done. That I think current AI systems do not provide. I don't even see whether they can provide it, given that it is data driven. When we get to LRM reasoning models, maybe I have not explored it that much. Maybe that's something that may happen there. Yeah, but generally, any security operations, if the trace explainable trace is available, it helps you to understand. It helps you to take corrective action. Therefore, I see there is a link from the explainability, not necessarily XAI, the explainability and security. But how that is going to be integrated, bigger question, because the current explainability may not be adequate for that purpose. A deeper explainability is still in the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you. The last question to Prem Narain is, do you have an example how one enterprise developed using their own data sovereign AI model?
Yeah, so see, firstly, when I say sovereign, you don't need to build a model. because there is a lot of open source model available out there. So there is Llama, Queen, there's a lot of open source from India as well. So you typically pick an open source model which fits your use case, and then you bring that and you deploy it, right? And so I'll give you an example of how AI can be used in a sovereign way, in a very good example. So this is for one of the country. I don't know if I can name, but I will probably refrain from naming. The police department, they get a lot of calls, hundreds and thousands of them. Some of them are distressful, and they have a number of people responding to that. So they want to actually understand and run analytics if the people who are responding to these distress calls, right? Are they doing it right? Can we help them get trained better, right? It's not about the replacement of these people, right? It's about how do we improve the service. So, but then these calls, you cannot send it to an AWS or you need to build a machine which is completely under your control. And in fact, after the machine is built, we train it on, we test it on fake calls, but then when we give it to them, even Katonic doesn't have access to that, right? So what you do is, in your data center, air-gapped. So air-gapped is a technology where you build something. So think of it as ChatGPT, but it doesn't leave your infrastructure, right? It is within your laptop. So it is like ChatGPT, which is in your laptop. So you can ask any personal question, but if you ask the real ChatGPT, Sam Altman will know, right? So what they did was, in their data center, they put the machines. There we partnered with HPE, and they put Katonic, right? And then they gave sample data for us. We built this agent which can analyze these thousands of calls. There's a lot of language nuances. And now they get a dashboard which says how many calls came, how many were missed, how many missed SLAs, what mistakes did, what they can do. And all of this is sovereign because nothing is leaving. It's air-gapped. It is not even connected to the internet. This is the simplest example. There are more complex examples I can talk about, but the key theme is here: sovereign, complete control, air-gapped, nothing leaving, but getting value. Not replacing humans, but augmenting humans to improve the service. And that's what everybody is trying to do. Yeah.
Very good. So I think we have come to a logical point where we can say thank you to all the panelists. It has been an extremely educational experience for me, and I'm sure the audience have enjoyed it. Yes, Kundu-san.
Yes. It is my unique privilege to express our deep gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the following stalwarts. Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan, IIT Bombay, for the keynote speech. Dr. Shri Kumar, former director, C-DAC. Dr. PBS Rao, Padma Shri Awardee, former dean of TIFR, who has conducted this show very excellently and very meticulously. Actually, he is the prime mover of today's discussion also. And thanks to him, giving thanks to him is not in my capacity. Now, M.A. Maluk Mohamed, co-founder of Global VP Research, Twin Health, is also spoke so nicely. Prem Naridas, founder of CEO, Malaya Rout, Chief AI Officer. An inauguration address was given by Lalit Shahani and introduction of speaker by MD Agarwal. MD Agarwal, Lalit Shahani, and PBS Rao, and some more people are behind this program also.
Including you.
And introduction of panel by Akila Ganesh, and some of the key arrangements by Vishwas Bopana, Bangalore chapter. Arts Srinivasan was also very helpful in the beginning stage. He was present today also. And some of the senior CSA members who had been helping with today's webinar. I also thank all the participants and who spared their time to make today's event so successful and memorable. Actually, I wrote down these things so that I take less time for all these stalwarts. Speaking offhand would create blah, 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 and actually,
thank you for Chennai chapter that you forgot. They have put a lot of efforts.
I've said Akila Ganesh.
Hold on. So I think we have forgot one thing. I think DP Sinha, sir, you wanted to say few words, sir. Can you
DP Sinha, your turn now.
Make it now?
Hello.
Can
you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, sir.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk on
Pleasure,
two
it was
statements,
pleasure meeting
particularly
and seeing Professor TVS Law after long several years. It was pleasure seeing many great people.
Continue? Yes. Yeah. I am DP Sinha from CSI Kolkata. Now, I will say some of you know me. Today, being the 6th March, because we also love to discuss history on this day, and not only the Indian history, but also the computers, and particularly AI. I thought that one should remember the name of John McCarthy, where actually in mid-70s I read some of the the book language at that time. It was well prevalent, but right now possibly it has been redefined. But he is considered till today the father of AI. That's number one, the statement. I had a question but Professor B is up because of the paucity of the time couldn't take that, because we have heard about the intelligent quotient in case of natural intelligence, but have I heard about anything AIQ, artificial intelligence queen? Is it for a group or for an individual? Is there any mathematical relationship or expression coming up? Best of the parameters so far evolved to calculate it and becoming a metric to that. But anyway, I will add it down on the WhatsApp group and this one. Many thanks to all the panelists, including the chairman, and that's all I can say. And homage to our old workers earlier in AI and also in current AI. Thank you all.
Thank you once again to all of you. And I want to make an announcement that, with this event successfully concluded, some of the senior members are interested to start a very, very focused group, online mode, which will discuss the development in AI. No politics, no cross-questioning, only very focused group who are really interested in AI and who work in AI. So we will try to create a organization for that, like as a startup. I like to remember how a startup works. Where there are some mentors, there are some product development. So that is what is my mind. That because CSI national activities are not happening due to the legal problems, but at least we can use this technology of communication, video communication, and we start doing some very meaningful discussion. Today's discussion, if you ask me, if I read, I think it was a very, very technical discussion, and credit goes to Dr. P.V.S. Rao, the way he has methodically arranged the questions, and all speakers he has aligned before coming to this session. He wrote one or two email to them also, asked their opinion, where they want, what they want to speak, and something like it happened in the background. So thank you very much, sir. And I have given the two email IDs who are interested. Please write to Vishwas and Akila that what you want to do, some of your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When do we meet again?
Thank you, sir.
In 2 or 3 days.
Okay, let us decide afterwards.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Ramani sir, how are you, Ramani sir?
Divya, please take care of switching off.
Thanks to all the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I am very well.
Okay.
I sat through the whole session. It was very, very interesting and educational.
Okay.
I thank all the participants all the contributors.